Hello, welcome to week 3. Dr. Henschel here, going over the overview for this week. The chapters in your text will be chapters 5, 6, and 7 this week, and you'll take the quiz. The assignment for this week is going to be creating a lesson plan and then teaching the lesson focus part of your lesson plan. So first of all, you're going to go up to here to this attached file and open up the lesson template that you'll be using. The template looks like this. So you'll put your sport here. I'm not going to go over each of the parts of this lesson plan. You can figure that out. If you have a question, just ask me. I'm going to go over a few of the main parts that people have issues with or troubles or don't quite understand. So in your CAP 1, you looked up California state standards. And so in this lesson plan that you made for your team sport that you are doing this week, you're going to come up with, you're going to find the standard that fits for the psychomotor domain, the cognitive domain, and the affective domain in your high school course 1, 2. Usually usually 2 is the best course to look at for team sports. If it's an individual sport, course 1 is a good place for that, or individual or a dual sport. And then you're going to write what standard it is, specifically what standard it is, and then write it out. So give the number and then write out what that California state standard is. And then down here, you're going to write out your measurable objectives. So you're going to write out not the standard specifically, but you're going to get a little more specific. So remember, it needs to be specific, measurable, attainable, reasonable, and timely. So for your psychomotor domain, you might say the student will be able to volley the volleyball 3 out of 5 times correctly, or whatever your objective for your lesson is. Physically, what are they going to do? And then cognitively, remember, you might use words like explain. The student will explain the rules or be able to recognize the rules on a written test or whatever you're going to do for that lesson. But remember, it's for this lesson only, not for the whole unit, just this lesson. That's one thing people have issue with sometimes too. Is it going to be for the whole unit? No, this is just for the lesson itself. The next part of the lesson plan, this section right here is just directions on what you're going to put for each of these different columns. So erase all of these directions, and these are just here to help you remember what it is you're supposed to put in this. So in the introductory activities, you'd put what activity are you going to do, what brief little activity are you going to do to get the students going. In the fitness development activity, what are you going to put in there for the students to be able to get better at their fitness? Thing I like to put in here are exercises that are going to improve their fitnessgram scores, especially in the 9th grade. If I'm teaching a 9th grade class, they have to take that physical fitness test at the end of the year. And what can I do in this area that's going to help them? I like to do upper arm strength because that's one issue they have trouble with, and some cardio because that's another test they have trouble passing in the fitnessgram. And these two together are going to take no more than probably 20 minutes. And I personally, what I like to do is I like to put the fitness development ahead of the introductory activity, and I like to do it in the reverse order. So you can change that order if you want to. But those two need to be before you actually start the lesson. And please, in the introductory activity, do not put take roll. Like if you're going to do an activity while you're taking roll, that's fine. But don't just put, they're going to sit on their numbers, then I'm going to take roll. No, that's not an introductory activity. And then this part, this lesson focus part of the lesson is where you're going to do your main teaching of the skill. So remember that skill, you chose 2 of them in your CAP 1. One of those skills is what you're going to teach here in this lesson, and then you're going to teach that other skill when you do your critical assignment. So right here, you're going to put what it is you're going to teach. So I'm looking for progression. We're starting with maybe some drills or maybe a demonstration first. Depends on where you are in your unit. If you've already taught some basic skills, then maybe you're going to go to a more complex skill. But in your lesson itself, you're going to start with some probably some practicing of something you've taught if you've already taught it. Maybe a demonstration if it's a new skill that you're teaching them. And anyway, so you're going to go through with some progressions to get to the very end of this lesson focus part, which should be 20 to 25 minutes. And at the end of your lesson focus section of your lesson, you're going to play some kind of a game that will reinforce the skill that you taught. And this column over here is talking about management. How are you going to manage your students? If you're going to be passing out equipment, how are you going to do that? If you're going to be using a whistle to get the students' attention, is there something specific you're going to do? Are you just going to, hey, and the students are going to pay attention to you? No. So, and then transitioning, if you're going to transition from your introductory activity to your fitness development activity, how are you going to do that? Are they going to walk to it? Are they going to, you're going to have them jog to that? Are they going to do some plyometric exercises to it? What are you going to do so that they are transitioning smoothly to your next place that you're going to be? And I think I already said handing out equipment. How are you going to hand out equipment? How are you going to manage your students? How you can also put in here something about how are you going to handle somebody that's not following the rules or things like that. What are you going to do? Are they going to go to a timeout? And so forth. And then the last part of your lesson here is going to be closure. This is what you're going to say or do to wrap up the lesson at the end. A lot of times I would have my students go back to their numbers and I would talk a little bit about what we did and ask them a few questions. They would give me thumbs up, thumbs down, or a number between 1 and 5 and to tell me how things went, and I could visually see what was going on and not a big, huge some kind of assessment there. Once you've written your lesson plan, then you're going to go ahead and teach. And I just want you to teach the lesson focus part of the lesson plan. So you wrote a whole lesson. Make sure that the time, so you have time in this section right here, make sure the time allotted is for 50 minutes. We're assuming it's going to be a 50-minute period, and that's not including taking roll and dressing out and things like that. So I'm assuming that's already going to happen. So this is 50 minutes of actually what are you doing with your students when they're out there ready to do their activities with you. And then like I said, you're just going to videotape this part of it, the lesson focus part. I don't need to see your introductory or your fitness development. I just want to see the skill that you said you were going to teach, and I want to see how you teach that skill. And when I'm looking at it, I'm also looking for progression, making sure that you're starting with the simple parts of the skill and going on to the harder parts of the skill. Please make sure you include the YouTube link for your teaching demonstration right here in your lesson plan. This will help me get to your lesson and be able to observe what I do is I open up your lesson plan and then I open up your demonstration and I look side by side to see if you are following what you say in your lesson plan. It would be awesome if you could do your teaching with a few students. 4 would be awesome, but I know at these times we cannot be together like that, and you may not be able to get anybody to help you, or the people that are in your home might not be of a good enough age for you to have them volunteer, like they might be a little too young to do the skills that you're asking them to do. So if you have to do it by yourself, that's fine. Just make sure you record it as if the camera is the student. And so you might want to put things in like telling them what things they've done right, maybe making some corrections. So you're making it feel like actually it is a student that you're teaching to. So I can see how you would correct a student that's doing a skill not correctly, or if you were a student is doing something good, how you would praise them, what kinds of things you would do in a real classroom. So make sure you include that in your video. check the rubric and make sure that you include all the things in that rubric to get the best points possible. If you have any questions, please make sure you ask.